Management Director at ECPY, and this is...
I'm Michelle Penny, I'm the Online Club Coordinator. So we are very excited to be here today. I hope you are as excited. Can you guys hear us okay? Everyone in the room? Yeah? Good. Not says, ooh, here we go. You guys excited? Are you guys excited?
I think you're still in training.
Yeah. Some of you. No, we wanted to make this topic very interactive and interesting. So keep that in mind as we go through the presentation itself. You think time management, sometimes you think, time management, planning. What do they necessarily have to tell me about time management? So we try to put a spin on it. We're going to focus a lot more on prioritizing. So obviously you have a lot of things to do. How do you prioritize everything that you have to do? You guys with us? Yes? We need affirmation, yes? Yes. So, from a general res life perspective here, this is very general. Again, your supervisors will have more specific expectations of you. Here, we'll see in a ranked order what res life expects from you. So, your family is very important to you. They're very important to us as well. Your academics, also very important. If you aren't in good standing with the university, guess what? You can't work for the Department of Residential Life. We want to make sure you're role modeling that behavior for your residents. You guys understand?
Yes.
Perfect. Residential life, underneath that, and then all other involvements include schoolwork, student group work, anything that you might do on the weekends is also included in that. Any questions about this? No. Question?
Okay, you said Saturday is first, right? Let's say you have Saturday emergency and you go away for the weekend and it's not happening.
Everyone can hear you.
Okay, let's say you go away for the weekend and you have to stay here. The section. It's like we're supposed to draw a 24/7, so we're going to have to do it. There's the RA coming in and
What's your name?
I'm Sam.
Sam. So Sam asks a really good question. What if you go home for the weekend and something happens in your section? Anyone want to take a jab at that question? Right here.
Well, the way our section works is that everyone takes shifts and duties. So basically, you'll sign up for certain nights, like maybe about 12 to 13 nights per semester. So who's ever on duty that weekend will take care of the situation. But if nothing on you, like what your floor does isn't usually a reflection on you because you can't control students. So that's just the way that works. So it's not your fault, it's no one's fault, it's just someone else to take care of it because they're signed up to do so.
So there's basically a whole system in place for you to receive information on what happened and direct communication not only between you and the resident, but between you and your supervisor. So if something does happen in your section, there's going to need to be some follow-up with regard to what happened in that specific area. So you're not expected to be in your section 24/7. That's the difficulty of being an RA. Some things will happen and you won't be around as well. That answer it?
And these are what I will be is a standard expectation. So on every quad, you can expect this. You can have a small staff meeting. Some small staff meetings are weekly, some are bi-weekly, some are monthly. It's really depending on what's going on. You can anticipate, not expect, anticipate that in the beginning you're going to have more frequent meetings to kind of acclimate to the semester. And then as the semester goes on, you're going to realize that, you know what, we're going to meet for the sake of meeting. So you might have a scenario where you're doing meeting bi-weekly or monthly. One-on-one meetings. So a lot of parties have different expectations with one-on-one meetings. It may be something that is standard no matter what we're going to meet, is how we're designated for you. Some might say, you know what, I see you every day. As long as I see you, that's fine. It's going to be on a case-by-case basis. The main thing with the one-on-one meetings is that you're touching base with your supervisor on a regular basis. What's a regular basis? I'll show you. What's a regular basis? I'm sorry. Yes, what's a regular basis? What? Once a week is a good, I guess it's a good variable. Some people might be daily because my office is going to be open. So you want to be cognizant of the office hours of the supervisor. We're going to have other ways to notify the supervisor as well. Of course, text messaging, email, but you want to make sure you stay in the room. All staff meetings. How often is all staff meetings? Raise your hand. What is it? Once a month. It's only once a month. So please plan accordingly. You will get those dates in the beginning of the semester. So make sure you find a plan.
What if they put us on the class schedule?
You won't have, that's a good question. Most all staffs, the key thing is most, are on the weekends, so it shouldn't conflict. The only case in which you may be exempt is like if you have a personal situation, but those are case by case basis. But they should not happen during the week, because it will conflict.
Steve, just to add on to that, does everyone know the difference between an all-staff and a small staff meeting? I know sometimes we speak in these terms, and we're very comfortable with them. Everyone knows? Who doesn't know? Who doesn't know all staff, small staff? Perfect. So, all staff is when the whole staff gets together once a month, usually once a month, to discuss any updates or issues that are happening in the quad. Small staff is when you're within your smaller unit or staff. So let's say we have 9 RAs in Waterbury Hall. That is your small staff. Does that make it clear? Yes? Yes?
That's me. Section hall meetings. How often is a section hall meeting? We have a couple of RAs on here, so help me out. How often is a section hall meeting? Yes.
Usually before certain breaks, I would say.
Okay.
There's one in the beginning. There's actually a few in the beginning, just to get the students activated. But as time goes on, it's usually like for closings and openings.
Yeah, it's usually when something big's happening. I would say approximately about once a month, it kind of falls into about that realm. But usually before closing, before a major event like housing sign up, before a major event if things are going on campus, which we'll discuss later, and definitely before closing. So that's when you're gonna have a section hall meeting. And of course, these are things that we just want to happen on a regular basis, because things will be put, check your mailbox and you email regularly. Some people get emails on their smartphone, some don't. So we just have the expectation, if I send you an email, my expectation for my staff is a 24-hour turnaround to respond to them. Because if I needed them to respond immediately, I'm usually gonna pick up the phone and call them.
So I guess when we relate these things to prioritizing, you know what works best for you. So if you feel like the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning, you make a list, who does that here? Yeah, a few of us. Okay, it's all right. It's okay. You make a list in the morning. Some of us have color-coded planners. That's perfectly fine too. Some of us depend fully on our phones. I have everything in my phone down to the second and the minute as to what location I need to be in. You have to make sure that you're in tune with what your schedule is 24/7. And that's the most important part when you think about prioritizing these things.
Assess the value. So you're gonna have a lot of situations where this is gonna really determine how you prioritize your time. So you're gonna have two different things, conflicting things that are happening. You may have a student group, and you might have a student that comes in front of you. What's gonna be more important? It depends. It depends on the students. It's easy to say student. It depends. A student just wants to talk, just to talk because they're bored, and you want to go to the student group. Maybe you bring them to the student group. So it depends. Everything's a case by case basis, but you really want to make sure this comes with practice. You're able to assess situations quickly and say, you know what, we can talk later. The student group is only going to perform or whatever they're going to do for an hour or so. I'll see you later. How about that? But once again, you want to at least get some information from that student and say what's going on. We assess the situation and then make a determination. And also, you can do that without hearing the exact words. Maybe you see body language, something different about the student. So then that would change the scenario a little bit.
So we want to also make sure that we're being honest. Sometimes we might think that a certain amount of time is allotted towards a specific event, and we're not necessarily being honest within ourselves. So if I have a 20-page paper due tomorrow, I don't have anything done for that paper. Is that 20-page paper going to get done? Some of us, yeah, right? Some of us are going to break night and do that 20-page paper. I've done it before in grad school. But for each of us, it's different. So you want to make sure that you're honest with how much time you're allotting to specific events.
And of course, this is also something you're gonna experience really quickly. Be flexible. You're gonna have your schedule set. You're one of those people that your planner is one of those things that you plan every single detail of your life. But rest life can alter that real quickly, because I'm calling you and RBD's calling you and say, hey, go check on this student. You might say, okay, it's simple. I just go talk to the student, and it might be this long, drawn-out thing. So those are things sometimes you have to anticipate and plan. It goes back to assessing value. So you want to be flexible with rest life, because sometimes things happen on the fly. Because students are unpredictable, especially if you're in a freshman quad. We can't anticipate how things are going to happen. So we have to kind of go with the flow.
And along with being honest is cutting that cord. How many times have you been in an event that you're like, I'm going to be here for half an hour, and you end up spending like an hour and a half there? Anyone? Yeah? Right? Like, what was it, I think like a MAN program? It's supposed to be an hour. And it was 2 hours because it got very juicy and I wanted to stay and to interact with everyone and see what people were saying about each other. You have to be careful and mindful of your time. It's very, very important for you to budget that correctly and diligently so you can get through the day and definitely handle all the appropriate things.
And this is something that Michelle and I went back and forth. Go to the quad specific. Right now you might be living on a quad that you're not going to work on next semester. And all the information you got to prepare for the interview or even the job was based on that quad. You're going to go to a different quad and all you're going to have prepared is that with that information you got from the quad that you are currently living on. And that information is going to be different next year. And guess what? Staff changes. Michelle was an RD about 2 months ago, now she's a QC. Things change so quickly, and then when that happens, some of the rules change, the expectations change. So you want to make sure that whatever information you get is only to your quad. So when you want information about some type of expectation or things that are happening, make sure you get it from the source, the quad itself. Don't ask somebody else for a different quad because they might be different. There might be some nuances that are going to make that expectation different.
So just to add on to that, a few examples might be the population of students that you work with. Some of you might be working with freshmen, some of you might be working with upperclassmen, international students, transfers. You have to cater to your specific population. Capacity is another one. Some of us are going to have triples in our section, and that's going to be a completely different dynamic in that community. So if you're also managing a living learning community, you have to cater to that community as well. So you have to think and put things in perspective as to what audience you have and how you can manage them better as a unit as well.
There's a little bit of you guys.
Okay, world, bring it. Morning, Mac. What do you got for me today?
Good morning, Evan. I hope you slept well. You have quite the day ahead of you.
Lay it on me, Mac.
Prioritize the best you can, but be careful. One false move can cost you your job. Your CDE would like you to follow up with Ronald Faber, who was sent to the hospital this past weekend. Your unwritten program planner is due by midnight. That gives you 16 hours. The staff meeting is tonight, and it is your duty to provide the food. But you must get the money from your CDE first. Class starts in 2 hours. You have an hour break from noon to 1, then you go back to fill that wonderful brain of yours until 4.
Oh, Mac, you flatter me.
Your perception midterm is tomorrow morning. How many layers does your brain's VGN have?
3?
Try 6. You need to study. Thetis, Film Enthusiasts and Theatre Undergrad Studies Club, meets tomorrow. You must write up an agenda for them. Your paper on the French New Wave is due in 2 days, and you only have an outline written. And Evan, do call your mother today. You know how she worries.
Thanks, Mac. I don't know what I'd do without you.
My pleasure. And, oh, Evan,
Yeah?
good luck. You'll need it.
Hey, Mama. No, I'm on my way to class. I wanted to call you, let you know I loved you.
Oh, bro.
Hey.
Hey Ronald, how you doing? I just wanted to follow up on this past weekend, see how you're doing, and I don't know, talk for a little bit if you want. You mind if I come in?
Yeah, I guess.
Alright, cool, thanks. Thanks for the talk, Ronald. I mean,
No, thank you.
yeah?
Yeah, you know, you were right. There are other fish in the sea. And you know what? I miss Chuck, but I can just get another one tonight, you know?
Yeah,
Or
goldfish
next
are,
week.
they're cheap. I'll tell you what, if you want to go get one tomorrow, I think I have some free time, and I'd love to come with you.
You want to get one now?
You know what? I'm a little busy. But why don't I Google a good spot for goldfish, and we'll get one tomorrow.
All right.
How did it go today, Evan?
Well, it was a difficult day, but using the skills I've gathered and the talents I've honed thanks to Rally, I persevered. I gave it my all, and you know what? I conquered.
Congratulations. If I were able to feel human emotion, I'd be happy for you.
Thanks, Mac. I love you. And good night.
I don't know how to love, but good night. And Evan,
Yes, Mac?
get ready to do it all again tomorrow.
For our current RAs in the room, do we see anything that we can relate to in this video? Do you want to speak up? Yeah? No?
Yes, especially going back to the small staff
You can
meeting.
speak up, huh?
Yes, the small staff meeting, it's like, sometimes it's late notice, and we forget about it because it's, I guess, every other weekend, and we have it one-on-one as well, so we're at one place, and we receive this text saying, schedule one-on-one, and you have to run back to quad and schedule one-on-one before a certain time, so everyone will take, like, the time slots, and then we gotta run back to class, then we gotta run back to other events we participated in, we gotta run back to quad for the small staff meeting, and then we just all over the place. So it's like that prioritizing and like jotting everything down and scratching it all. What you did complete is like a great way to prioritize, right?
Anyone else? Any other perspectives? Sam?
I know that I do pretty much the same thing every day, and I don't have like a laptop that talks to me sadly, but I write down pretty much everything I have to do down to like showering, getting food, and I kind of make a list for the day and just make a plan. And it helps a lot.
Yes.
Sometimes you will have days that, like some days you'll have days where nothing will happen, and then you'll have days where you might have your one-on-one with a small staff meeting, and then maybe at like 3 o'clock in the morning, your residents will be misbehaving. So then you lose sleep, so then you have to go take a test the next morning, and then you have to go back to your quad to follow up on a write-up, and it's like, you have 100 different things to do all the time. And it's kind of like unexpected, like when you go to knock on the door and the resident was smoking, you might walk into your resident hall and you might find that stuff's going on that you didn't expect, and that can really cut into your schedule. But you can't just leave it alone. But like usually if you're really busy, you need help with someone, you can always contact your R&D for help too, and they'll try to help you out with that.
So she mentioned flexibility. I think every current staff member in this room can tell you that every day is not the same when it comes to approaching things, instance in your halls, coming back to your hall. So when I was a new hire, I was hired my freshman year, I didn't really know what to expect going into the fall. I think for me, I knew I was hired, I was excited, I was an RA, oh my gosh, here we come, state quad, yeah. And I didn't know what to necessarily expect. So we wanted to go through with you guys an overall kind of general overview of what a semester looks like. So, after a long semester or a summer away, you're coming back for training in the fall, in August. Anyone know that date? All right, August 11th. You're coming in? Yes? Here's some rumbles. It's okay. August 11th, perfect day to come in. Decorations, you might want to start thinking about those. What do you want your hall to look like? What do you want your section to look like? You might want to start working on them during the summer. Hey, get that flag up, right? Assessing your areas in your section and developing teams. It's important that you get to know the people you're going to work with, correct?
Yeah.
Right? You want to build a good professional relationship with your team. This is a great time to do so. Why? Because there's no one in the residence halls but you and your staff. It's kind of creepy, right? Yeah? But you get to move in before everyone, and you get to build that team within your team. So, opening section 1 meetings will also happen, and your first program proposal will be Everybody on the same page? So, duty schedule will also take place. Sometimes some quads do temporary duty sign-up. So if your schedule's not finalized by the time you get there for training, you want to make sure it is, because by the time you sign up for duty, you need to know what nights you're available. Does that make sense? We usually start duty sign-up around 6:45, depending on what quad you're on. 6:45 is a good time frame. So keep that in mind too. Clash of the Quads happens in the fall. Community Service Month is in October. Spring semester new student staff hiring process. So you might have just gone through a hiring process. Now you get to be on the other side of the table and interview people as they go through the process. And that one's not as intense as our spring one. Then you have closing in November for Thanksgiving break and December for winter recess. Programming deadlines are all throughout the fall semester, and other duties is assigned is all throughout the fall semester. It's our favorite line in Res Life.
Yeah, spring semester, there's a lot of things are very common with the programming deadlines. There are 4 programming deadlines each semester, and the criteria is the same for each semester. But there's different things going on. And really, the spring semester is really about the different events that are going on. The things that are the big events, we have Big Purple Growl. In there, we also have things that are quasi-expected. We're going to be pushing it through Res Life, but it's not a thing that we're going to mandate. With Relay for Life, they know these are big events. Actually, when is Dana? Dana's coming up right now. When is it?
It's this Monday.
This Monday. What's this Monday? What date? Next. Thank you. That's the problem. So these are events we want a big audience. At. So this is they go to Res Life to kind of start with the recruiting process. Semi-formal. Those of you who are currently on staff, you want to go to semi-formal. It's good food. It's a recognition. It's also an opportunity to showcase highlight some of the things that have been going on with the programmers, student staff members, and other things of appreciation for the different things that happen in the spring semester, or actually throughout the year. The new student hiring process is a very intense process that we just went through. You guys are going to be on the other side, as Michelle mentioned. It was a little bit less intense in the fall semester, but in the spring it is intense. We have to evaluate approximately 300 to 400 student leaders, because everyone here is involved in something other than residential life or anticipating something else. So it's a very intense process, so we have to go through that. I'll do this as a sign. This is going to be something that is going to be harped on through training, because sometimes we just pop in and say, hey, can you do this for me? You're going to say yes, no, maybe so. So that's going to be very important for us, because we have to sometimes divide ourselves, and we try to divide ourselds by delegating tasks amongst students.
Any questions about the fall and the spring semesters? Anything specific to what you saw on those last 2 slides? Now we're giving you an overall glimpse of what the semester looks like. I didn't touch on some of the fall events, but raffle night is pretty big in the fall. We dedicated our efforts to the CND efforts this year. And we usually have a Halloween program where we invite little kids onto campus that Res Life puts on as well. So pretty big programs all throughout the year for Res Life.
Scenarios.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes. You guys ready?
Yeah.
Yes? Good, good. Some energy, guys. It's Friday. So, if you're not sitting directly next to someone, you're going to have to pair up with someone. So, find a buddy. First one. You're in your room and you have procrastinated on a paper due in 2 hours. You might not admit that you procrastinated, but that's what you've done in this moment. Your resident knocks on your door and is hysterically crying. They're always crying. What would you do? How would you prioritize the situation? Go. Go. 3 minutes. Who wants to start? Bring us home. Done.
So it's a guy who's going to go away.
Need you to go speak louder.
It's a guy who's going to go away with the girl he went to the...
And then you lose your job. So realistically, here we go. Come on, Doug.
Open the door and try to console them, try to figure out what's going on, not pushing too much.
You just speak louder.
So we try to console the person and try to figure out what's going on without pushing too much, because you can be crying over anything, maybe a lost relative or somebody in the family died, so you don't want to force them to tell you, but if they tell you, you want to try to console them and try to do better about what's going on in the situation, so that you care.
Okay. So try to console them, try to make sure that they see that you care and you're kind of sympathizing and empathizing with them. In the back.
We had a whole plan, so like they came in a room, we were gonna let them come inside and like get all that blubbering out, because you can't really understand them anyways, and while they're crying, like type your paper while they're like, cry or laugh, they finally catch their breath. We were saying like, I would tell them, go wash your face, like, you know, calm down, take a walk or something. He's saying you could give them a card, like go get something from the vending machine, then go to your room, cool down. Yeah, go to your room, cool down, and I have paper to finish. As soon as my paper's done, I'll be in your room and we can talk about it instead.
Okay, so kind of give them a little cool down period before you approach them, all right? Any other thoughts? Rachel?
I would console them first and get them to I would console them until they can get to a point where they're like calm, because you know how like in the beginning kind of cry a little hysterically. And hopefully if my co is free, I would try calling him down, because I feel like if, for me in this situation, if I had to get through 2 hours, I can't really pay attention to your comment and think about mine at the same time too. So I would want to have somebody that can listen to you 100% so you can feel like you're getting, you know, all of your feelings out. If my co isn't free, then I would definitely console you until you're okay, to a point where I can be like, okay, well we can finish this conversation later. So, yeah.
Rachel, how would you feel if someone told you that?
I'd cry some more.
Okay. Be honest, she would cry some more. Right here.
Personally, I would probably, like we were discussing it, like you see what the student was crying about, like this is like urgent, it's like really terrible, and of course it can go on time, but like, you know, sometimes students cry about stupid things. I mean, a lot of people cry about stupid things. Like, you can't always help all those things, but you gotta, I mean, I feel like students can take care of first. You're already procrastinating your paper, we're procrastinating our hours and everything for you. But like, if it's really that bad, most professors understand, like, if you send them a text, like, not a text, don't even send a professor, but like, you send an email and say, hey, look, I'm really sorry, I need like an extra couple hours on this. I think you can understand, you gotta explain the situation. You don't tell them every detail, but you can explain that you had a situation that took up a lot of your time, and
Jennifer. So Jennifer brought up a good point. Sometimes your perception of their problem might be different. We kind of saw in the video, the resident's fish passed away. He took it very seriously and wanted another fish. By the end of that conversation, he was kind of back to where he wanted to be. In some of our minds, that might be something to laugh about. That might be something to kind of, really a fish? But to them, what if it's a fish that his great-grandfather gave him, and him passing away kind of signifies his great-grandfather passing away too? So we got to put these in perspective too. It's good to find out what the source of the crime is about. Usually when people cry, it's something that's happening, something that's weighing on their mind, something very heavy. So it's good that we're hearing that. We should at least kind of assess the situation and what's going on, and see if we can find some sort of backup if we're crushed for time. Rushing people through something traumatic. Have you been there? Where someone's like, are you done crying? It's kind of insensitive sometimes. You want to be careful too what kind of language that you use, but you want to be honest. Some of that language could be, hey Lauren, seems like you're really upset about something. You know, I really want to talk to you and process this with you. I need you to calm down. Go wash your face. Come back in 5 minutes. They come back in those 5 minutes, you find out what's wrong. Give them a resource or a backup and be honest with them. Hey, I have a paper due in 2 minutes. Is this something that needs some ABC right now? 2 minutes. Or is this something that I can definitely help you out with tonight? I can pass by your room at 9 o'clock. Are you available at 9 o'clock? And that gives the resident some perspective instead of, you need to leave right now because I really need to get this paper done. Any questions about that scenario? It can happen. It can happen while you're on your way to your class. It can happen at any point. Keep that in mind.
Scenario is.
Question, I'm sorry.
I'm going to change that scenario. What if you had an exam that morning, you had to go, and then the resident came and started crying? Then would you still have to handle it the same way? Or?
So, if you have an exam that morning, a lot of times I like to walk and talk with my residents. So I'm like, can you walk and talk with me about that issue? If they seem very traumatized about it, hey, it seems like someone else can help you in the situation. Let me call my director on duty and see if they can help you out with this. And you don't have to mention that you have a test.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because that kind of minimizes their situation. So you can bring them to a resource and you can leave them with at least.
And it goes back to the assessment value, assessing the situation quickly. So scenario two, same group, same people. You have been very busy with schoolwork and haven't been able to do a walkthrough in a week. Is this okay? Why or why not? So talk that out. So, is this okay? Why or why not? Somebody, is this okay? Yes.
You said that it's not okay from the beginning when you're still trying to establish a community on your floor, but once your community's been established, it's not like the end of the world if it doesn't happen, but as soon as you're done with everything, it's the first move.
Okay. Anybody else? Yes.
If you're really busy, you said like if you know you're gonna be busy, but you're gonna be in your room, like keep your door open and be accessible, or like send an email out or text messages to the floor to say, just listen, I might be a little busy this week, and if you don't see me, just text me or call me if you need anything.
I want to merge those 2 points because I like those 2 points. You mentioned something in the beginning is very important to kind of establish some identity and establish some type of rapport and kind of presence at your floor. So you want to make sure that that's happening early on, no matter what's going on. You're going to make a point and budget that with your time. And you mentioned, you know what, there's going to be times when you're probably, because most student staff members are involved in other things. So if you're involved in keyboard, you're a big event, it might take you away from being on your floor in your section. So you just acknowledging that, just saying, you know what, I'm just going to text or let my residents know, hey, if you need me, maybe you contact your code. So you kind of prepare for that situation. So I like those 2 points.
Like, I think it's important actually for everyone to let their residents have their number during the semester. They won't abuse it, but I don't think residents really have a desire to abuse their RA to the extent where they text for no reason. But like, I've had residents text me in the middle of the day and I'm not there, like when I'm gone, for important information. But you want to make sure too, if you're not going to, if you know you're busy, make sure at the beginning you mention, like, go to the quad office. Because you'd be surprised, I came in on a new floor halfway through to take over a spot where a RA had been a senior, she graduated. And the residents on the floor didn't know, like, the quad office existed. They didn't know what to do in a case of emergency. They didn't know, there was a lot of things that we were unaware of. So I think it's important to establish at the beginning to give them your number. Because they, like, just God forbid something happens and you need to text somebody. And that's also, like, if you're busy, you're not going to have time to walk through every week, but, like, you should know, like, if you don't see, it should, like, one thing I tell you, like, it's sad, like, it's not going to be the end of the world, but you should make an attempt, like, I try to do every couple of nights, I try to do it at night, because residents are often out and about at night. Or, like, but there are times when you won't see your residents for half a semester, and I had a room like that, and I tried every couple of hours knocking on the door, and I could not text these people. They were never in the room. And I finally got to, like, actually talk to them. But you'll have times where you can do a walkthrough. You might not see residents. They're very strange.
I want to kind of address this one. I think it's very important, and just kind of something that came to mind when we were talking is, you want to empower, we empower you, residential life, we go to training, we have these ECPY reports, to empower you with information, and trusting you with decisions, very important decisions. And we want you eventually, especially if you're on a freshman quad, to kind of entrust them, to empower them to make decisions. They don't need to come to you if something is broken in their home. They should go to the quad office, but they need to know that. So information changes the situation. So they're contacting you all the time. That means there's something wrong. Maybe it wasn't clear in the section of home meeting how to address different things on campus or what are different resources. You still want them to trust you, but you also want to empower them to say, listen, this is what happens. This is what a quad office is. They're in a hub. They're open. They're a 24/7 operation. So that's very important. Shaquan, thanks. Nice and loud.
Alright, so I know there's a period, I would say like the spring semester is when things get really like busy, when we have the interviewing process, which takes up a span of like a good month. And I would say that the way I kind of kept the connection with my residents is kind of to incorporate them in certain things I did. I would have like little in-between programs where they can get together and still have that community. And at the same time, if I knew I was studying in the basement, I would invite them to come study with me. I mean, it's not for everybody. I wouldn't say like, just some residents will talk to while you're trying to study. But I would have like little like study sessions where I would go to the basement and go and study with them, or just catch up, in between them. Like, it could be as simple as, it's midday, you're not doing anything, just walk through the halls and pick this up.
And because I know Shaquan, I know how he operates. A lot of it is, it starts day one, how you develop your community in your section, in your area. Shaquan goes to the dining hall and he has a group of people following him. He's kind of doing a walkthrough, in a way. He goes to a program, he's easily just walking through his hallway and they're like magnets, and they're following him. Let's go. He's the leader. And, you can develop community in a lot of ways. You don't have to be so scripted. We give you a handout and this is what you do. You guys don't know about you humans. Things are going to happen. So you kind of want to be human about it. You want to this is where your personality differentiates one RA to a different RA. So keep that in mind. This is a very individual process.
So here's another one. So you're not on duty. Contrary to popular belief, you're not always on duty, right? But your residents are loud and disruptive. You have a huge paper due the next day. How do you handle that situation? Let's talk about it. I want to hear from some of you voices. Sam.
So, I personally think that even if you're just like a resident, you have the right to like knock on other residents or like politely ask them to be a little bit quiet. So like as an RA, whether you're on duty or not, it's 24/7 job. So like if someone's being loud, chances are they're behind somebody else in the hallway. So I would definitely like ask them kindly to lower music.
Cool. So you test. Casey.
If you're really busy, you can call the pod office and say, like, this room's really loud, can you send someone over to?
This is where it gets a little tricky and gray. So you might get some pushback from the front office. I guess from a director on duty perspective, sometimes we get calls from students at 4 in the morning asking us to call out an RA to handle their noise complaint. So we have to make a decision in our best interest at that moment to say, hey, have you spoken to that person in your section? No. Do you know who lives in your section? No. Well, you go address that situation first. If they give you pushback, then you call residential life so that we can come in and help you handle that situation. Do we see the difference? So we want to be careful sometimes. Because if you think about it too, would you addressing your own residents be more meaningful than someone else addressing your own residents?
Yes.
I heard a no, and I heard a yes. So I want to hear about that no, and I want to hear about that yes. No? I heard a no. Said it bravely.
There you go.
Tell me.
I didn't say it, but I think it could go either way because if they're comfortable with you to the point where they might not take you seriously in that situation, like they would be like, oh, they're being serious, you got me on this one, and then that could be annoying if you have a huge paper and you're trying to get out of there fast, so you might need, if it's a stranger, they're more likely to maybe listen to them at that moment.
So you hit on something very specific, tone. When you're comfortable, I'm assuming at a friend level with your residents, sometimes they might not take you seriously. So it's important to know those boundaries from the beginning. So that when you do address a situation, they do take you seriously. Why? Because if something's happening in your section and you're not handling it, what's the perception of the other residents in your section? That you're either favoring them or not necessarily doing your job as someone who lives in their community. Does that make sense? So we're constantly role modeling that behavior for our residents here. I heard a yes too.
Actually, it's a bill of law,
I mean to interrupt you, hon. I want a new voice. Go ahead.
Just that's what I was gonna say, to follow up on it, if they're comfortable with you, they can understand where you're coming from.
Okay.
As an RA, as one of your daily residents, they can understand like, oh, you're just trying to do a paper, you want us to keep it down. If it's like another RA that's on duty or for involved, like, they might do it for like once they hear the RA say, oh, can you keep it down? They'll keep it down maybe for an hour, maybe, but after that, once they leave, they might just go back and just turn the music back on, and then that might bring back the RAs, then it might get a little complicated. They get written out for no reason, but it's from you sometimes. You understand where you're coming from, because you're not trying to like screw them over, you're just trying to be like, oh, look, every resident's doing something right now, I have a paper. Just keep it to a minimum level, you don't have to shut it down at all, just keep it to a minimum level.
So there's two sides of the coin in this situation. The other perspective that you might want to think about is there's more of you than there is of that one person. So on a given quad, let's say there's 23, 26 RAs. They will feel more comfortable seeing a familiar face than some person who might be on duty from another area on the quad that they're not necessarily familiar with. So take that into account too. People are automatically defensive when they see someone that they don't really know, trying to address some of the situations. You might have an easier time addressing them as well. Any other thoughts on this scenario? Look at that.
We said it also kind of depends on what time it is. Like obviously if it's like at an indecent hour and like in the morning, then they're breaking the rules, you're RA 24/7. You need to address it. But if it's like 12 in the afternoon and it's simply loud and disruptive because you know you have paper and you can hear it, but it really isn't, then maybe you need to remove yourself from the area because they should be allowed to rock out at that specific time.
So are we familiar with our quiet and courtesy hours? Yes? So what's our quiet hours policy? There's a specific designated time where we want to be quiet, correct? Yes? Yes. What's our courtesy hour policy? 24-hour courtesy hours. I know, right? Some of you might not even know, Empire is a 24-hour quiet complex. Oh my gosh, right? Courtesy hours. So what does that mean? That if it's bothering you, someone said it before, it might be bothering someone else in your section. So it's kind of bystander. You hear someone yelling, stop, stop. They might be play fighting. Something serious might be happening to them. And we don't know what's happening in that scenario. So you'll learn from duty protocol why it's in your best interest to handle that situation then, because there might be something happening in that instant that we can't tell by a closed door. Does that make sense? Good point.
The final scenario, I'm going to read through this. What would you do if one of your most likely and appreciated student staff members is being inflexible while the staff is trying to coordinate a weekly meeting time due to extracurricular commitments? That's a moment. So, extracurricular activities are conflicting with trying to coordinate the time for a small staff. We know what a small staff is now. Right? So, does that make sense? So, talk amongst each other. Yes. Yes or no?
If it was me, like, I would talk to a person, like, I would just say, like, can you speak to the president of the community, like, community service and whatever he or she is involved in? Can you ask her, like, or him, that if we can just, like, get an excuse for this date? Because if all of us have this date open and if all of us have this time open, just getting that date and time won't be a conflict. I don't think missing one day would like her or him in that community at all. So I would ask her to talk. If she can't, then we have to do another, but I would just ask her to talk to her president of the community.
Okay. Yes.
Well, we said that this was a job and it comes first with your extracurriculars. So you should be able to get your schedule around this because you're getting paid. This is it. So we are actively.
Anyone from this side of the room? Yes.
I was saying, like, it depends, I mean, what kind of extracurricular activity it is. Like I said to her, like, say you're on the team or something, and you practice all sorts of that one show, you know, if it's that serious of a situation, like, I'm sure you could talk to your RD and be like, listen, I know everyone's mad at me, and I'm missing tonight, but I really can't, like, I've been working on it, so I was saying, like, obviously you should put the job first, but if it's that serious, you can probably coordinate something with your RD.
Okay, the word depends is applicable. Michelle and I just said that word before I got on. It depends is applicable to a lot of these different scenarios. If you have, I like that example, by the way. If you have one show, it's the only show, and it only impacts one meeting, go to your RD and negotiate that. Okay, maybe they just have you do an extra program. That happens. Sometimes you might have to go, if it's something structured, you know what, they're inflexible because of this commitment and the other group, you might have to talk to the group and listen, can we do this maybe an hour later, or whatever the case may be. Sometimes the word depends is available. I had a scenario which that wasn't the scenario, that was the case, it wasn't one event, it was a structured meeting, I was like, they're not going to move it on, I was like, you have no choice, the group is the larger group, you talk to the larger group about changing the time, and the larger group was very flexible, so it really depends.
Alright, so we're going to move into some strategies. So we're going to bridge the gap between work and academics here because we have been talking solely about our priorities work-wise and extracurricular-wise. You also have to go to school in the fall, believe it or not. And you're going to have a class load. So you want to be up front about your needs and your expectations to your supervisor early on. Don't wait till December to tell them what your needs and expectations are, because you might not be on the same page with your supervisor's expectations. So keep that in mind. What major are you? How many classes are you taking? Do you have an internship coming up? What should I be aware of? Are you in class in the morning and going to be around your section at night? These are some examples that you want to keep in mind. Some of the things that you want to talk to your co-worker in your buildings and your supervisor as well.
This is something that you guys should be prepared for. Make the most of your free time. And this goes back to budgeting and prioritizing. So you guys have things that you guys do that have nothing to do with anything pertaining to school, which is something that you enjoy doing. Find pockets of time to do that because we do value me time. So make sure you do that because we want to make sure you're well, your health and wellness is very important for you to do anything at the university.
Along with that, you want to set up a routine. So let's say every Wednesday from 7 to 8 p.m., you see a peak as to when all your residents are in their section, then make that your walkthrough time. This will take more than an hour to do a walkthrough in your section, and it's the busiest time frame. So you can allot time to do that in your sections. You just need to make sure you build it into your existing routine too.
Find a way just to do schoolwork every day. Just find a pocket of time, find an hour or two. And you just never know what's going to happen. We talked about those different scenarios, different opportunities that we mentioned, and how you're in mode of you're doing this big paper or you have this big assignment, and then you're bothered by a student. You're not bothered by a student. A student needs you. So don't have it be this burden on you. When a student's coming to you, they need you. That's why we hired you. We trust you with being an extension of us and being a representative of the department.
You want to make sure you're making connections with your coworkers and your classmates because you just never know when an emergency is going to happen or you're going to need someone to come in the clutch for you. So keep that in mind. If you're in class, get a few classmates' numbers. For your coworkers, you want to make sure that you know and are aware of their schedule too and their pattern of work as well. Just so in case you need someone to help you with something, then you know who to turn to in those situations.
And of course, the number one rule of anything in my life is take care of yourself. Your health, your wellness, be sane, be happy. If you're finding a moment where none of those things are not applicable to you at this current moment in time, stop, talk to someone. The supervisor is going to be there for you. There's going to be someone, you should have someone that you should always rely on for that kind of information to kind of give you that instruction. Look at me. These are the things that are going on in my life. What should change? What should happen? What do you think? It's a process of bounce ideas. That's very important to me because we're going to gauge that, and then if we're confronting you on something, there might be something bigger that's going on because you probably didn't deal with something that you're trying to balance within yourself. So keep that in mind. Sometimes we're addressing you because we don't know. Sometimes it's very important to supervise and be involved.
I think along with that, you want to learn to diagnose your own problems. So you want to be very self-aware of the things that you're facing in your sections and in your personal life. So if you need to work on your time management, you want to be very self-aware of that, and you want to be honest with your supervisor about that, because they can help you too get through those issues as well. So keep in mind, something happens in your section, you want to make sure you can troubleshoot that, and you want to make sure you're picking up on things before your supervisor does. It's going to make it an easier work environment for you as well.
And our words of advice, I just want to leave you with kind of 2 tips that we felt were very important, just to kind of throw out. This is the last lecture class. Something that's very important for you guys just starting out. Some of you are already in a position. And you might have heard this many times. The words you never know. If you're in my class, I already had this conversation with you guys. You never know. And just that, you never know. A lot of people that ask anyone that's in RD, ask anyone that's QC, ask anyone that's in mid-management, ask anyone that's a director, ask them, was their plan when they joined Res Life to be in those roles? And the answer is no. I'm an RD right now. I'm 35 years old. I was never an RA. I would never join Res Life. I thought it was the most ridiculous thing in the world. And here I am. And you talk to there's a lot of different examples. Talk to RD. And I bring that up because some of you starting out, you know what, I'm just going to do my job, go on about my business, I got to go to this meeting, and your attitude kind of is, but you haven't done enough to be removed from the position. So you know what, we just talk to you, do your job, and that's it. So senior year comes along, you want to now be a GA. You don't get the GA position, what did I do wrong? I did my job, I never got a bad evaluation. You just did your job, that's it, it wasn't enough. Or let's say you want a recommendation and the recommendation is just subpar. You just say, oh, they did their job and they were good. That's it. That's all I can say. I can't say anything more. I make it substantial to say about it. And I don't know why I can't get anything more. They want my supervisor is. So keep that in mind. You just never know. Because a GA position might give you an opportunity to go to grad school for free. And I'm not only talking at the University of Albany. Res Life is everywhere in the United States. And then some. So I had a GA shift where I had everything paid for and they paid me to go to school. That's the St. Bonaventure University. So you just never know. It doesn't have to be Res Life. I wasn't in Res Life. I got a GA shift at St. Bonaventure University with something not Res Life related. They gave me an apartment as well. So you just never know. So keep that in mind when you're going about your business. Because thinking long term, you might want to use this position or this experience and leverage it to get your master's for free. Get a different experience for free. You guys know what RD's doing. Or if you don't, you can look it up. See through NewYork.org. So and then you also kind of get different opportunities with that. So just you never know.
Thank you, Steve. I think along those lines too, I know we heard some grunts during that time frame where we were talking about doing a weekly walkthrough. You're impacting another student's experience in the residence hall. So if you are that RA that's not taking initiative in your section, you could potentially be impacting a section of about 30 to 50 residents. So you want to keep that in mind as you go throughout the year. My word of advice is be very forward thinking. We sometimes think in the moment, we think very individualistically, and that's embedded in our culture. But we want to think about the team. The team is the most important part. If your team is broken, you're not going to succeed as a unit. So keep that in mind and pass it on to your residents in your hall as well. Build some around your section. Name your section something distinct in the beginning of the year. Pass something around, a token of appreciation to your residents when they don't mess up. Sometimes we only focus on the times they do mess up. So we want to make sure that our perspectives are in line with our goals for this year as a resident assistant. You guys have any questions? Questions? Comments? Nasty remarks? You guys still with us?
Yeah.
One question.
I think it's only appropriate to leave recognition to the RA that I had, but I'm really good at your job.
He's going to be a GA now, so that's a good example. You just never know.